Guys, I've probably recorded well over 1,000+ videos to date in reference to life and things in the Philippines. And even though over time things have changed, one thing that has remained the same is how I choose to explore the Philippines and how I choose to deal with beggars in the Philippines. And in today's video, that's exactly what we're gonna talk about. Stay locked in. What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I be, Good Doc. Dr. Mike TV back again, once again. You already know what it is, baby. Instant classic in the making. First time to the channel, guys, make sure you subscribe, notified, do all the good things to make yourself well-versed in the Good Doc's content. All of my ish shall be listed in the link in the description area below. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not wish to waste your time. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Throughout my tenure in the country, if there's one thing that I can honestly say about the Philippines is it has its pros, it has its cons. For the most part, I believe there are more positives than negatives, but one of the more negative aspects of things that you're gonna have to deal with in the Philippines is beggars. Now, the only thing that has changed from begging back then to begging probably in the current landscape is the fact that the pandemic hit. All right. So I believe that begging has likely gotten a lot more aggressive. You know, you have a lot more people approaching you, a lot more people who are going through situations and problems, whether that begging be online or whether that begging be in person. There's likely a lot more people hitting you from different directions, and probably more so than it was in the years prior. I can remember this guy telling me a story, right? This is the funniest shit I ever heard. Let me knock this out real quick. So my man hit me up in the email. He was like, there's this girl that I wrote like 2 years ago on an online dating site, and he said she started responding to me only this year. Like, I had forgotten about her, I had forgotten the message. But the thing is, the message still showed up in the archives, and you know, she started writing him again like 2 years later after she basically just didn't even recognize him the first time he wrote her. So like I said, current landscape has definitely caused a lot more people to take notice of you being the particular foreigner man. So when it comes down to the idea of dealing with beggars and things like that in the country, we're going to get into some tips more so from the in-person standpoint when you're walking on the streets and things like that. And also from the online standpoint, we're going to get into those relatively, soon. But the first thing I want to talk about is for my gentlemen who enjoy exploring and walking around and, navigating your way around the country, period. Okay. Now, one thing that I've said over time that has never changed is how I choose to explore the country when I'm out and about. First rule of thumb for myself, guys, limited cash only. Carry as little cash as humanly possible. All right. When it comes to buying large purchases, hopefully you shouldn't need to carry around large lump sums of cash. If you need it, I would say go to the ATM when you're in the mall or a place that you trust. That way the money you take out is where you're going to actually spend it. Luckily for me, I do have a debit card in the Philippines from the banks that I actually are associated with in country. But for those that don't have that option, if you guys have to go to your ATMs that are accepting of your cards that are from the United States, get the money, pay for it there, so you're carrying light cash at all times when you're out and about on the streets. So as little cash as humanly possible is my best recommendation. Now, I know a lot of you guys like the ball till you fall, and I know a lot of you guys are at that level where you're like, man, I'm not trying to keep going to the ATM to withdraw cash. I'm not trying to every single day or every other week withdraw cash, because that stuff starts to add up. And if you are a part of a bank that doesn't pay back those international withdrawal fees, you're talking about $5, 250 pesos on average per transaction that you're going to have to pay. So in that case, if that's the case, I would say withdraw like 10 to 25,000, or at least the max. Whatever the max at that ATM allows you to withdraw, if that's what you feel comfortable with taking out and holding, I encourage you to do it. So we're looking at roughly about 20,000, I believe. 20,000 pesos is normally the max that most ATMs will allow you to withdraw at a time. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's up to 25K. So if you're comfortable carrying around that type of money, we're looking at about $400, $500 in your pocket and stuff like that. If you're cool with it and you're comfortable, and you got like strategic hiding places where all your money's not in one place, go for it, man. If you feel comfortable doing it, you do so. I encourage you to carry light cash just in case, but if you're good, or if you're in an area where you feel comfortable, like your Bonifacio global cities, those parts of Makati and the Greenbelt area where, these are problems, or getting robbed or having to deal with beggars are like minimized, and you don't really see that being a problem that you're going to have to deal with, then of course, sky's the limit in the amount of money that you choose to carry on your person. All right, but for myself, I've always learned, rule of thumb, carry as light cash as humanly possible. Heaven forbid you lose it. Maybe it's just a boneheaded move on your behalf, but heaven forbid you lose it. Can't get it back. You understand? So that's why my rule of thumb when it comes to exploring the Philippines is to carry light cash, okay? Number 2 rule, and I think this goes for everybody, and I think you guys have already talked about this before, and we're going to talk about it again. Zero jewelry. Scratch that. Rewind. Zero jewelry of value. If you got a watch, like I wear a Guess watch when I have one. That Guess watch cost me about 4,500 pesos, so about $80, $90 or so like that. I got a Guess watch that I wear. Something that's not flashy or flaunting, but just enough for me to tell the time if I need to. I got this bracelet here that I got for free. Don't ask me where it came from. I just wear it because it just makes my energy feel better. So when it comes to jewelry that doesn't matter, wear it on the street anytime you care about it, but your gold, things that look flashy and flaunting and things that would attract people in a negative light to come towards you, those are the things that I encourage you to avoid. So when it comes to jewelry and wearing zero jewelry, you can wear jewelry, but just not the jewelry that could cost you, a little bit of pain in the end if you lose it, or a little bit of pain and suffering if somebody tries to take it from you, okay? So I'm big on wearing no jewelry at all. But like I said, of course, every man should have a watch and stuff like that, all right? If you want to. All right, ladies too, that goes for you as well. Now this one right here, my 3rd rule when it comes to exploring the Philippines, this is one that I think is key to me. And I don't know how many of you guys actually do this. Some people do it consciously, some people do it subconsciously, some people don't even know that they're doing it, some people don't do it at all. But for myself, if I'm carrying a wallet, I always carry my wallet in my front pocket, or I carry my wallet, if I'm wearing cargo shorts or something, in a pocket that has a zipper. Always, always, always keep my money in my front pocket when I don't have cargo pants, right? Because I need to fill my wallet at all times. So even if I'm walking on the street, or if I'm walking in like a crowded place, for some reason I have a tendency to pat my pockets. And it's just, now that's a subconscious thing that I do. And I guess it comes from walking on the street and walking in crowded areas in the United States, Philippines, and abroad. I always have a tendency to pat my pockets just to make sure my wallet is still intact. I don't know why I do it. I just find it to be beneficial to me when I need to make sure that my money is exactly where I need it to be. Always carry my money in my front pocket. Cell phones, always in my front pocket too. Gotta be in my front pocket, or in a zip pocket. I don't know what type of guy wears their, walks on the street with their wallet in their back pocket. I kind of feel like it makes you an easy target, or people know that you keep it in the back pocket. They brush up on you. How are you to know that somebody's reaching into your pockets, if your pockets are a little bit loose, or you don't wear pants that are fitting to where you can feel if something's being, relieved or taken out of your pocket, okay? So for me, in order to avoid any of that particular headache, my wallet stays in my front pocket all the time, constantly, like clockwork. As a matter of fact, let me show you my wallet now, because when I'm in the Philippines, I do a bifold wallet. But when I'm here in the United States, this is the wallet that I carry. I love this thing. I forgot what the brand is, but it's like super cool. My cards and shit. That's what I do. And I'm thinking about getting one for the Philippines, except for I only have 2 cards, so it's really not going to be super beneficial for me to have it. And if I do happen to carry large amounts of money on me, or I need to have it on me in the moment, it's not really a nice it's not really a lot of space for me to be able to carry it and hold it. So that's one wallet that I only use in the United States because I'm very card focused in the United States, as opposed to when you're in the Philippines, you're more so on a cash basis and you're likely to carry more cash than rather swiping your card. Especially if your cards are from your home country. You're not gonna really swipe it that much in the country as well, okay? So for me, wallet, always in the front pocket, always in the front pocket, always in the front pocket, always in the front pocket. I'll say that shit till I'm blue, black, and damn near dead in the face. Money. Front pocket, front pocket, front pocket, all right? Especially when you're walking on the streets and exploring the Philippines, okay? Now, as we get into talking about how to deal with beggars, now, when you're on the streets, guys, let's be honest, and you're in crowds and stuff, you're likely going to deal with members of the community, the local community that may be dealing with some hardships, okay? Now, when you're dealing with people who are dealing with hardships, one thing you're likely to come across is people who are gonna come and ask you for money, i.e. the beggars. Now, when it comes to beggars and dealing with begging, I've always been an advocate of not giving money. Never give money. I've broken that rule a handful of times, I will admit, but for the most part, I don't give money, always food. Never money, always food. Most of the time, food, never money, however you want to say it. And I use that as a rule of thumb because I've noticed that if you give money to one, it's always a group of people in the background looking at you, the 400 man giving money to a beggar, and trust me, the whole crowd gonna come and swarm you. I'm talking about a swarm of individuals who may be a little bit hard up on their life. So you might give money to a kid, and then another kid show up, and another kid show up, and the adult shows up with the baby and that little hamper thing that they tie around their neck and shit, something that makes them look like they're literally straight out of the province and stuff like that in the city. There's always, somebody that's gonna see you doing what would be perceived as a good deed, even though I do believe it's illegal to give money to beggars. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe it is illegal to do that. But, there's always gonna be somebody seeing you do this good deed. You can either get in trouble for it, or you're gonna be punished by a whole bunch of people coming to you and asking you for money and trying to get, in your pockets as well. So I've always learned that, I don't give money. If I can avoid it at all costs, I don't give money. And when I do give money, 5 pesos here, a couple pesos here, and that's all it would ever be. I think the maximum amount of money that I've ever given to a beggar, and I don't know why I did it, it must have been one of those days I was feeling myself. It was like 20 pesos, 50 cents. And I don't know what I was going through that day that really encouraged me to do it. Maybe I didn't want to be bothered and I just gave it. Maybe it was Christmas time. And I think it was Christmas time. And I think they sang me one of them Christmas carols and shit that they just they didn't actually just mumble through it. They actually put forth the effort. So I felt like because of the effort, I would, pay them accordingly. So that was probably a situation, and the only situation where I gave over just the coins that I had in my pocket, okay? So that's my rule of thumb when it comes to dealing with beggars. Food, no money. But what I've also learned is if you're the type of person that is aggressive in nature, being a foreigner, you don't like to be touched, you don't like to be bothered, I encourage you to be as respectful as humanly possible when it comes to dismissing beggars. Don't get violent, don't get angry, don't yell. All right, I understand the frustrations that may come with being a foreigner in the Philippines and the challenges that you're gonna have to deal with, but don't scream, don't yell, don't lose your mind, all right? Because you gotta understand this is likely happening in a public place and all eyes are on you, all right? And I want you to handle the situation accordingly. How I would encourage you guys to handle the situation when it comes to dealing with beggars on the street, I've mastered one term in my whole entire life, Tagalog term. Yes, Tagalog. Is it Bisayan? Tagalog? Bisayan? Tagalog, whatever. I think it's Tagalag, all right? There's one term that I've mastered, and I'm going to share it with you today, and I think that you guys need to put this in your arsenal, have it with you at all times. That term is walang pera. That is W-A-L-A-N-G. Walang pera, P-E-R-A. I know it sounds like I'm saying pera, like pita or P-E-D-A. It's like pero or para, which is like money. So walang pero or walang pera, which means no money. And what I've learned is as a foreigner, using that term, if you say, walang pera, walang pera, walang pera, and they hear you say it, it's almost as if they're like, okay, this is a foreigner. Granted, he's a foreigner. They're not going to really look at you much like a tourist, right? Because you understand some of the local dialect, and they can at least be able to pick up on the term when you tell them no money, no money, no money, no money. I think anybody can pick up on the term when you tell them no money, no money, no money, no money. So that's one term that I did master when I first got into the country, when you're dealing with beggars, or I'll put my hand out, like, no, no, no. Most of the time they respect that. But again, in current landscapes and current times, what's really going on in the aggressive nature of most people in the country when it comes to their needs and taking care of their own families and things like that, you just don't know what people are willing to do. So as a result, I try to keep everything at arm's length. But if you can't, walang pera. If you feel gracious enough and you're generous enough in the moment, hey, if you're near McDonald's or something and you want to get them a 50 peso meal, go for it, man. I mean, that's what I encourage you to do, because I've learned that giving money never seems to benefit you in any way, shape, or form. All right? It's money out of your pocket, number one. If people seeing you do it, you can get in trouble, number two. Number three, if other people see you doing it, not only will you have to deal with probably a group of individuals swarming you, trying to get something from you. You got to keep your hands on your valuables at all times, like we've talked about. So, guys, I want you to be careful on these Philippine streets, man. I want you to be careful on these travel streets, these streets in any country that you go to. Most of the time, these are situations that you're likely to contend with and deal with more so in the aggressive manner when you're dealing with individuals that come from like third world country settings, likely the times when you're going to deal with this situation. But again, guys, can happen anywhere in the world that you travel. So I want to make sure that I note that as well. The only place that you'll never come across this in probably is if you're in like Dubai, because those people are rich. Some rich people. You might have more foreigners begging on you in Dubai than you'll ever have a local. So that's neither here nor there. I digress. But I wanted to share with you guys how I deal with exploring the Philippines and how I choose to deal with beggars and stuff like that. And if it ever comes to a situation where you're dealing with beggars online, I think you can pretty much master that one. No is a term that I think all foreigners need to put in their vocabulary. I told you, you got to master the word no, because again, no means no. All right. And people got to respect that. And if they don't respect it, guess what? There's the little thing called the block button. And I believe that motherfucker works miracles. Trust me. I can't tell you how many people I blocked. I can't tell you how many people I'm probably going to block in the next few days. You want to know why? Because sometimes I just don't want to be bothered. All right? So when it comes to social media and people trying to get on you with dating sites and all that stuff, you can block them so easy. And I encourage you to do so if you're not trying to deal with that situation. All right? So if you found anything useful about this video, man, please feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. I would encourage you guys to list in the comment section below some of the things that you would do in order to avoid having to deal with beggars, or how to handle them, and other rules and things that you would implement in your own lives when it comes to exploring the Philippines, going around, walking around, seeing the sights, and being vulnerable to the extent where you're out in public, you're walking around, and you got money and things on you, your cell phones are valuables, and how you would choose to handle those situations should you deem it fit. One thing that I want you guys to do if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to say something in the comment section before you leave the comment, because I know this is a long video and this is going to test how many people actually make it to the end of the video. All right? So what you're going to type before you type your comment in quotation marks is, Doc, this is how I deal with beggars. Even if you don't write anything else after that, that's what you're going to put in quotation marks. That lets me know that you literally watched it from beginning to end. Social experiment, man. We're going to be back at this one, okay? Quotation marks. Doc, this is how I deal with beggars. All right? Dot, dot, dot. And then you either write your comment or whatever, or just leave it at that, put a thumbs up, smiley face, or whatever, and keep it pushing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been fun, it has been real, but you know what time it is? It's time for the Good Doc to go on, get to getting. So with that being said, Good Doc is officially out, at least not go by alarm, which means I am going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys, sincerely do. Makita, mabuhay. Peace.